What happens when Hollywood's elite mix with royal blood secrets and a well-timed leak? You get a media firestorm, and this time, it's Prince Harry at the center of it. The drama unfolded in a way no one could have anticipated, and as the fallout escalates, it's clear the stakes aren't just about public opinion. They're about trust, betrayal, and the widening gap between two worlds, the British monarchy and American celebrity culture. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button, tap the like, and drop a comment below. Do you think Tyler Perry did the right thing, or did he cross a line? Because this story is already tearing social media apart. It all started quietly. Behind closed doors, Prince Harry and Tyler Perry were working on a deeply personal documentary project focused on mental health and healing. Harry, who had once credited Perry for offering him and Meghan a safe haven during the most chaotic moments of their royal exit, seemed to trust him implicitly. The sessions were meant to be private, intimate conversations, not press interviews. But in Hollywood, nothing stays secret for long, especially when the content is this explosive. A short clip appeared without warning on Tyler Perry's verified YouTube channel, captioned cryptically, "The truth always finds the light." In the leaked footage, Harry could be heard speaking candidly, maybe too candidly, about his feelings towards certain family members, the weight of royal expectation, and the suffocating pressures he felt as a child raised in the spotlight. What shocked viewers most wasn't just what Harry said, it was how raw, unguarded, and emotionally unfiltered he sounded. This wasn't the polished prince who once stood tall in military uniform or gave carefully crafted speeches. This was a man who sounded broken, frustrated, and tired of playing royal chess on the global stage. Reactions were swift and unforgiving. In the UK, the press tore into Harry within hours. Tabloids labeled the moment another betrayal, calling the prince's remarks reckless and damaging to the royal institution. Over in the US, opinions were more divided. Some praised his honesty and vulnerability, saying it took courage to speak openly about such trauma. Others, though, questioned the intent. Was Harry being exploited, or had he willingly turned his pain into a product? And if he trusted Tyler Perry so much, why hadn't he insisted on keeping the footage under wraps? Even Harry's most loyal supporters began to shift uncomfortably. It wasn't just about privacy, it was about control. Had Harry finally lost grip on the narrative he and Meghan had fought so hard to craft? The rawness of the leaked audio made it hard to tell whether this was an intentional reveal or a calculated move gone terribly wrong. Then came the real shock. Photographs emerged showing Harry boarding a red-eye flight from Lax back to London. No press statement, no announcement, just a visibly agitated prince slipping past photographers in a hoodie and baseball cap, face down, earbuds in. It didn't take long for speculation to spiral. Had the palace summoned him? Was he returning to do damage control? Was this the beginning of yet another rift, or worse, a total collapse in trust between Harry and his American allies? Inside sources quickly confirmed the tension behind the scenes. One anonymous friend told reporters that Harry was furious. He trusted Tyler. He never expected those conversations to go public, especially not like this. Another insider claimed that Meghan had been blindsided as well, caught between defending Perry's intentions and protecting Harry's fragile state of mind. According to reports, she stayed behind in California, fielding calls from lawyers and publicists while Harry made the solo journey back to royal territory. What followed was a press frenzy that echoed across both sides of the Atlantic. Royal watchers speculated that Harry would be forced to issue a formal apology or clarification. PR analysts questioned whether the leak would strain his relationships in Hollywood or even endanger future deals with networks and streaming platforms. Tyler Perry, for his part, remained strangely silent, only issuing a short post hours later, saying, "Some truths don't need permission to be told." The quote ignited even more controversy. Was Perry implying that Harry had given consent indirectly? Or was this a case of ethical boundaries being bulldozed for views and engagement? As social media lit up with hashtags like #PerryLeaks and #HarryandFiltered, pundits argued over whether the prince had been betrayed or whether he had overstepped once again, painting the monarchy in a bad light while enjoying the benefits of celebrity. Amid the chaos, one thing became clear: Harry's carefully crafted post-royal identity was slipping. The transparency he had once wielded as a tool for advocacy now felt like a vulnerability others were ready to exploit. For some, it was a powerful moment of emotional bravery. For others, it was a sign that Harry may be losing control of his narrative, and that the cost of telling his truth might be more than he bargained for. As Harry touched down in the UK, royal aides scrambled to determine how to respond. Would there be a palace statement? Would Charles or William weigh in privately behind the scenes? Or was this just another chapter in the ongoing saga of a prince caught between two worlds, one of duty and discretion, the other of confession and spectacle? By the end of the day, headlines were screaming, "Prince in panic," one read. Another, "Tyler's tape bombshell shakes monarchy." And the most biting of all, "When friendship meets fame, WHO owns the truth." In an era where personal stories are monetized and trauma becomes entertainment, Harry now finds himself facing a harsh reality. The stage he stepped onto in search of healing may have become a trapdoor. And the people he trusted most, whether media moguls or Hollywood friends, may not always have his best interest at heart. The fallout began almost instantly. As the clips circulated, snippets of whispered conversations, emotional confessions, and seemingly private grievances echoed across social media like a drumbeat. It wasn't just a PR nightmare, it was a storm. Tyler Perry's unexpected role in the saga caught everyone off guard. A once trusted ally, now turned unexpected informant. And the timing couldn't have been worse. Just as the Sussexes were planning their next big media rollout, Harry was now being called everything from reckless to hypocritical in headlines across the globe. The royal family was not silent. While Buckingham Palace did not issue a formal statement, insiders close to the firm began to whisper to British tabloids. There were murmurs of betrayal, complete disillusionment, and even talk of reopening formal separation discussions regarding Harry's remaining royal titles. According to one aide, King Charles was deeply disturbed by what was revealed. The tapes reportedly included moments of Harry discussing private royal meetings, off-the-record arguments, and even allusions to Charles' health that had not yet been publicly confirmed. The palace, known for its stoicism, was now in damage control mode behind closed doors. Meanwhile, in Montecito, Meghan was reportedly blindsided. Sources close to the couple suggest that the Duchess had no idea Tyler Perry was in possession of such revealing audio. Some speculated that the tapes were recorded without Harry's knowledge during long, late-night phone calls and video chats while the couple was staying at Perry's California home during their escape from the UK. Others believe Perry might have obtained access to a separate personal archive, perhaps even from an assistant or via hacked files. Regardless, Meghan's immediate reaction was described as emotional and devastated. She had placed enormous trust in Perry, even naming him godfather to their daughter Lilibet. The public, already skeptical of the Sussexes' constant media presence, began turning sharply. Twitter exploded with memes. TikTokers began analyzing every syllable of the leaked material. YouTube commentators who once defended Harry's desire for freedom now openly criticized him for what they called emotional opportunism. The prevailing narrative was not in his favor. The tapes painted a picture of a man still very much haunted by royal life, unable to fully let go, but simultaneously unwilling to own his decisions. It was contradiction after contradiction, and the world was watching. What added fuel to the fire was how the Sussex responded by saying nothing. For nearly 48 hours, there was radio silence from their camp. No press release, no carefully curated Instagram story, Not even a vague quote to a friendly journalist. And that silence? It screamed louder than any statement could. Because in the digital age, silence isn't grace, it's guilt. Or, at the very least, confusion. It wasn't until a paparazzi photo emerged of Harry at Heathrow, head down, face drawn, and suitcase in hand, that people realized something serious was happening. The image alone told the story. He wasn't on a business trip. He wasn't smiling for the cameras. He looked broken. Insiders say the flight to the UK was booked in the early hours of the morning following a heated conversation between Harry and senior aides still loyal to the crown. Though no formal invite was extended, Harry made it clear he needed to speak to his father. Not via Zoom, not over the phone, face to face. It was an unscheduled visit that caught palace staff off guard. And it wasn't clear whether Charles would even agree to see him. But there was a sense that things had reached a tipping point. Across the pond, Meghan remained behind in California, choosing not to accompany her husband. Some saw this as a tactical move. Others whispered it was a sign of internal strain between the couple. Rumors swirled. Was Meghan distancing herself? Were the Sussexes now fractured within their own alliance? Whatever the truth, the optics were damning. The Sussex brand, which had once symbolized modernity and reinvention, now looked like a crumbling facade built on overexposure and fragile trust. Meanwhile, Buckingham Palace was preparing. Crisis meetings were held. Lawyers were consulted. If the leaked tapes were indeed real and not manipulated, there could be serious legal and diplomatic implications. Some clips allegedly referenced conversations with foreign dignitaries, security briefings, and even private thoughts shared in royal family WhatsApp groups. It was more than gossip. It was potentially dangerous. The royal family wasn't just concerned with public perception anymore. National security was now part of the conversation. But the emotional weight of the situation wasn't lost on Harry. After years of trying to forge a new identity away from the palace walls, it seemed he had finally encountered a moment where there was no escape. No Netflix documentary could edit out this kind of scandal. No podcast monologue could reframe the facts. And no Oprah interview could soften the blow. This was real, raw, and unfiltered. The very thing Harry had feared most, being publicly vulnerable without control, was now his reality. Even among celebrities, the reaction was mixed. Alist allies of the couple went silent. Some even unfollowed their official accounts. Talk shows picked up the story, with anchors openly questioning Harry's judgment and wondering how someone so media-savvy could have allowed such a catastrophic breach of trust to occur. Meanwhile, British tabloids gleefully ran front-page spreads with headlines like Harry's worst nightmare and Tyler's tape shocker. There was no safe harbor left. And in the eye of this storm stood Harry, royal by blood, exile by choice, and now a man at a personal crossroads. Would he take accountability? Would he lash out? Or would he, perhaps for the first time in a long time, face the truth with humility? These were the questions the world was now asking. So if you've made it this far, you know the drama is just getting started. The next chapter dives into Harry's unexpected meeting with King Charles, the behind-the-scenes reaction from William, and how Tyler Perry's shocking silence after the leak only made things worse. You won't want to miss it. And hey, before you go, make sure to hit that subscribe button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and give this video a like if you think we're just scratching the surface of the royal meltdown. Trust me, you'll want to stay tuned. At Clarence House, the mood was somber. King Charles, already dealing with the pressures of his reign and lingering health concerns, had reportedly been blindsided by the leaks. While the monarch had shown restraint in public regarding his youngest son, insiders say that this time, the gloves were off. The tapes, which allegedly included audio of Harry mocking family traditions and questioning the monarch's judgment, were perceived as not only a personal betrayal, but a national one. In a private meeting hastily arranged behind closed palace doors, the king agreed to see Harry, not out of warmth, but obligation. When Harry arrived at the royal residence, the tension was immediate. Staff described the meeting as icy and emotionally loaded. No hugs, no pleasantries, just Charles seated at a long table, papers in front of him, flanked by two senior aides. "You have 5 minutes," he reportedly said, offering no invitation to sit. It was clear this was not a reconciliation. It was a confrontation. Harry began to speak, at first, with the practiced calm that had come to define his public persona. He explained that he didn't know the tapes would be made public, that Tyler Perry's intentions were unclear, and that the recordings were taken out of context. But Charles wasn't having it. "How many times do you expect us to clean up after you?" he asked, his voice tight, his knuckles white against the table. "Your actions have consequences, Harold. For you, for your brother, for this entire institution." And there it was, not just anger, but deep disappointment. Harry, visibly shaken, tried to defend himself. "I didn't leak the tapes, Dad. I didn't even know they existed." But Charles interrupted. "That's the problem, isn't it? You've surrounded yourself with people who don't understand discretion, who see you as content instead of a son." The conversation grew more heated. Harry brought up the past, the treatment of Meghan, the lack of support during their exit, the media's relentless attacks. But Charles stood firm. "You chose this," he said. "You left. And now you want the benefits of the crown without the responsibility." It was perhaps the clearest indicator yet that the door to return, at least in any royal capacity, had all but slammed shut. Across the city, Prince William was having his own crisis. The future king had been conspicuously quiet throughout the entire leak scandal, but insiders claim he was furious. Some say he refused to even speak Harry's name during private meetings. Others suggest he urged palace lawyers to review the Duke of Sussex's legal status and charitable affiliations. "William's done," one insider said. "He spent years trying to protect the institution from his brother's choices. Now he just wants him out for good." Back in Montecito, Meghan remained silent, but not idle. Sources close to her claimed she was in full crisis mode, scrambling to assess what other communications might exist. Her team reportedly reached out to Perry, but received no response. And that silence? It spoke volumes. No denial, no apology, just a chilling quiet from the man once considered a savior during their escape from royal life. Hollywood circles began to murmur, was this the end of Meghan's social clout? Major studios that had once courted the couple were now reviewing relationships, as one executive put it. Meanwhile, public opinion was shifting rapidly. The Sussexes' most loyal fans clung to the narrative that the couple was being targeted, sabotaged, or punished for speaking truth to power. But the broader public was growing weary. A recent poll showed that trust in Harry and Meghan had dropped to an all-time low, especially among younger viewers who had once championed their break from tradition. It's hard to root for someone who keeps saying they want privacy and then ends up in the middle of every scandal, one commentator noted. At some point, people just tune out. And in this maelstrom of betrayal, miscommunication, and dwindling support, one person remained mysteriously absent from the narrative: Tyler Perry himself. The director, producer, and media mogul who had opened his home and his heart to Harry and Meghan was now nowhere to be found. No press release, no social media response, nothing. Some insiders believed he'd gone underground to avoid legal consequences. Others whispered of a deliberate betrayal, fueled by hurt, disillusionment, or perhaps even a backdoor deal with a network or publisher. Whatever the truth, Perry's silence was deafening. But for Harry, the damage was done. The one person who had helped him rebuild his life outside the royal bubble had now effectively burned that life to the ground. And now, here he was, standing in the corridors of a palace he once called home, no longer a prince in the eyes of the crown, and no longer a hero in the eyes of the people. As he exited Clarence's house, escorted by a discreet palace aide, Harry paused briefly to look up at the Union Jack flapping in the gray sky above. Cameras clicked. Journalists shouted questions, but he said nothing. Because what was there left to say? As Prince Harry slipped back into the shadows of London, far from the palace gates and flashing cameras, a very different kind of crisis was unfolding behind the scenes. The leaked tapes hadn't just stirred media frenzy, they had triggered a full-scale panic inside the Sussex brand operation. Lawyers were called in. PR firms huddled. Crisis managers scrambled to draft statements that could soothe both American and British audiences without sounding like more damage control. But it was already too late. The narrative had gotten away from them. And in the court of public opinion, Harry was already losing. The world Harry and Meghan had carefully crafted, polished interviews, curated Instagram posts, philanthropic branding, was cracking at the seams. The tapes had shattered the illusion. Instead of progressive reformers speaking truth to power, they now appeared out of touch, hypocritical, and, perhaps most damning, manipulative. On social media, hashtags flipped overnight. #TeamHarry trended briefly before being overtaken by #RoyalHypocrite and #SussexLeaks. The tide was turning. Tyler Perry, the man who had once offered them a sanctuary during their most vulnerable moment, remained silent. And in that silence, 1,000 questions erupted. Did he feel used? Had something happened behind closed doors? Was this his way of severing ties, or, more dangerously, of exposing truths he believed the public deserved to know? Whispers swirled that Perry had grown uncomfortable with how often his name was leveraged in the couple's narrative. Others speculated that he had been recording conversations for insurance, just in case things went sideways. Now that they had, perhaps he decided to use that insurance publicly. Back in California, Meghan was said to be devastated and furious. While she didn't appear publicly, her inner circle leaked just enough to craft a narrative. She had been blindsided, betrayed, and unfairly targeted. The old playbook was back, but the audience wasn't buying it this time. Pundits questioned why every relationship around the Sussexes seemed to end in drama or estrangement. Tyler Perry had joined a long and growing list that now included the royal family, Spotify, Netflix executives, and various former friends and advisors. Prince Harry, meanwhile, returned to Montecito a different man. Photos showed him looking drained, pale, and unusually silent. Paparazzi captured him walking alone along the beach with a downcast expression. According to one source, he had barely spoken to anyone since the flight home. It finally hit him, the insider revealed. He's lost control of the narrative. And worse, he's lost the trust of people who once supported him no matter what. Behind the scenes, there were whispered conversations about a rebrand, even a potential separation, not from Meghan, but from the shared public identity they'd cultivated together. He's starting to realize that maybe the world doesn't see them as heroes anymore. At Buckingham Palace, the Queen's portrait still hangs over the fireplace in the private family's sitting room. A symbol of stability, of discipline, of grace under fire. And it's that image that advisors say Charles and William are now leaning into. Their strategy? Distance, silence, dignified detachment. They would not respond to the tapes, the leaks, or the interviews. Instead, they would keep calm and carry on, a tactic that, ironically, was now proving more effective than any counterattack. Yet, behind palace walls, contingency plans were being drawn. Sources claim that senior aides began exploring how to formally remove Harry and Meghan from remaining royal charities and affiliations. One insider hinted at discussions around updating titles and restructuring how the Sussex name could be used in official contexts. This isn't just personal anymore, the source said. It's institutional. Meanwhile, in the US, the media slowly began to treat the couple differently. Morning talk shows no longer introduced them with breathless admiration. Late-night hosts began making subtle digs. Even celebrities, once eager to pose for photos or attend charity galas with the royal duo, were now keeping their distance. The Sussexes were becoming, in the blunt words of one publicist, radioactive. But the real blow came when a major documentary project Meghan had quietly been developing with a top-tier streaming platform was abruptly paused. Not cancelled yet, but clearly shelved until further notice. It's the uncertainty, a producer said, when you don't know if the public will still be rooting for your star by the time the show drops. It's a risk no one wants to take. As for Harry, he reportedly asked to meet with Perry to discuss the situation privately. But whether that meeting happened remains unclear. Some claim Perry declined. Others say it happened behind closed doors and ended with no resolution. Regardless, the friendship, once heralded as a beautiful example of support in dark times, was now irreparably fractured. And so the final chapter of this particular saga closes not with triumph or vindication, but with isolation. Harry and Meghan, once seen as brave reformers of a rigid institution, now find themselves cast adrift. Estranged from the royal family, distanced from Hollywood, and caught in a web of their own making, they face a hard truth. Authenticity isn't just about what you say, it's about what you do. And when the actions don't match the words, even the most compelling story begins to unravel. If you've stayed with us through this incredible story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Harry and Meghan can recover from this PR disaster? Or has their fairy tale turned into a cautionary tale for the modern age? Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more inside stories from the royal world and beyond.